just like every experience, we always like to start it off with an experience.
We do.
So who's going first, Max?
It's your turn.
Okay. The experience that I've been going through is, and maybe you can help me fine tune this experience. I've been really bad when it's been coming to eating and my fitness regime, and I've been trying to justify it because like I literally, since you saw me, I had 2 jobs, right?
Right.
I got 2 other gigs that I'm doing that are just like
4. You have 4 jobs.
I have 4 jobs now.
I feel like a failure.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not paying me that much.
Okay, then I feel like it's huge success.
Yeah. So I'm getting paid a little bit, but these are like side gigs. These are just like once a month gigs.
Okay.
That kind of correlates to like, every other weekend I'm doing another job for something else, but that's only like once a month type thing.
Okay.
It's kind of like a reserve job. So I've been trying to like justify me not, working out as much and me eating just a little bit, unhealthy. Just because I'm so busy and I'm just like, well, I might as well. I deserve it. I'm getting all this extra cash and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I've been, and so.
So you think that the extra cash is equivalent to bad diet behavior?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
then
go back to being poor. And then you have a better diet.
I'm still am poor. Go back to being even more poorer, I guess.
Right. Well, here's the funny thing about dieting. I say don't do it. Don't diet. Just eat healthy and, stay active. And you're a very active person, and it's summertime now, so you can start swimming again.
Right, I'm swimming, yes.
Yeah, so, if you do those things, if you drink lots of water, first thing in the morning, that's the very first thing that you should do, is drink water. Nice big huge glass of water before you even get out of the bed. Put it there the night before, have it right there ready to go, drink your water, and then start your day. And that will already charge your body,
right? And
those molecules will expand and your brain will be nourished, and you'll be able to get on with your day in a healthy way. So drinking water, sweating out the water, and nourishing yourself with healthy fibers and fruit and vegetables.
I've been doing that. It's been a lot of meats,
beers. No. See, there's where you're failing. That's because you have a job and you can afford the beer.
Yeah.
So cut that out and you'll be right back on track. You look great though.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it's fantastic. My experience has been odd lately. Mercury is in retrograde, and everything is kind of like, static electricity around me. Amazing things are happening. I just scored 5 movies, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to be in August in Egypt. I'll be sweating to death. And you'll have to come rescue me.
Wait, in August you're going to be in Egypt?
I will be in Egypt in August.
Wow, when are you leaving for that?
In August.
In late August?
Yeah, that was that A word that I said prior to leaving.
I was like, wait a second. I was like, we have a show that we got to do.
No, don't worry. No matter where I am in the world, I'll be able to do a show.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. It's a very heavy movie. A lot of dialogue, and I'm going to be doing some green screening in Virginia for a few weeks, and then off to Egypt.
Because Virginia is exactly like
I know,
Egypt,
right?
apparently.
Isn't that the strangest place ever? But we're very happy to bring work to wherever we can. Because there's lots of different places, and bringing the film industry there, it's an important thing. As long as they give us a tax break.
So we shared an experience. Cara, would you like to share an
gorgeous Cara Mastrey?
Oh, my gorgeous Max. Thank you. Thank you both. My experience is researching health. It all began when my sister, Cara Mastrey, who was a veteran radio rock DJ for almost 40, well, definitely over 30 years internationally, she had hepatitis C, and I was living in Ireland at the time. This was 2000. She called me and said, I have this weird disease I've never heard of. It's called hepatitis C. The doctor gave me maybe 10 years to live. Of course, neither of us heard of that disease before, and I thought, you don't have much time to live. So immediately my daughter and I came back to Minnesota to be with my sister and my family, and learned about hepatitis C and took care of my sister. She became very ill, and she died 7 years later. In the meantime, I was starting a nonprofit foundation with my sister to let people know about hepatitis C. Because of all the information we found out, we were in shock, and we had no idea how to help others. But the only way we felt would be the most important way is to let people know about it first. And that was Ton's wish. So I took that upon myself to continue after she passed away, gathering all her friends, all the musicians from all over the world who she helped launch in her years of rock and roll. And they love her so much. They think of her as their sister and as their mentor, as a teacher. Some have found out that they were lovers of her, very dear friends, while I'm working on filming a documentary about her life, which has been an ongoing thing because she started filming her life before she died. The film, when it's done, it'll be released in 2015, but it's absolutely amazing what I'm coming up with all her old footage and all the interviews she's done. She's interviewed every rock band you can possibly imagine, and she saved all these voice bits of her voice. So I've been spending years listening to them, finding which ones to put in the documentary and which will raise awareness for this health situation. It's really become an epidemic with hepatitis C. But in the research that I found throughout this whole experience is hepatitis C crosses over to so many different things. You're talking about food, you're talking about water, air. We are being poisoned, literally, by not very many nice people doing it. Very small minority. But it is a conglomerate, it's a corporation, it's combined corporations. I don't want to mention names, but there is a GMO food out there. We have to eat organics.
Please mention the name.
When I was feeding Ton, because she couldn't feed herself the last year, I would make sure she only had organic, because the liver can't process anything that's not good for you in that case. And can you imagine what it does to healthy people? Cancers. And I have so many friends since Ton died have died of hepatitis C, cancer, pharmaceutical drugs, and I'm in mourning still today because they leave this world every freaking year. I'm so sick of it. People do not understand the importance. And to Ton's last wish, excuse me, it just freaks me up. Last wish. I said, what do you want people to know, Ton? And she said, she took it some thought, and she looked at me in my eyes, and she said, rock hard, live long. So that's what I'm here to do, to tell people to just freaking keep on the journey, keep healthy, eat right, shut down these idiot people that don't give a damn about each other, and move forward into the positive light, because otherwise we have no survival. I'm really deadly serious about this.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, that, a lot of the musicians today are taking their youth for granted and, abusing their bodies in ways that are detrimental, and they're not seeing it. And, because they live this, rock hard and die young kind of attitude, when it's actually the opposite. And Ton was so strong with that. Ton was a good friend of mine and a huge supporter of mine, would come out to see me sing. And part of me being on the air is, due in fact to her amazing, light that she shined for all of us as, females in this industry. And so grateful, for her and for you to, take up her cause and to really get that message out there. Turtle and I both try to live very healthy lives, and we encourage that for all of our listeners. And,
I'm no purist. In the 80s, I was doing big hair band days. I'm still a singer. I'm doing song with all the best musicians in the world and music albums coming up. But I'm not a preacher. I'm a teacher. I consider myself a healer through the voice vibration of sound, and kids are going to experiment no matter what. I mean, Ton got this disease when she was 15 years old, and along with all her high school classmates in the senior high school are either dead or dying of hepatitis C because they shared one needle. Ton was not a heroin addict. She was a free spirit. She experimented when she was 15, and 30 years later she found out she had a disease, and her liver was almost gone by then because she enjoyed champagne, which she spread to the world. We all loved sharing her champagne and dinners out and
mimosas.
She was the best, most fun party. She loved that. She wasn't a drunk. She was an alcoholic, but it did destroy. It didn't help her liver at all. It cut her life off shorter. But if she knew she had hepatitis C earlier, she would have quit drinking earlier. She did quit eventually completely. And with kids doing everything, man, it's really awareness. And that's why music is going to do the talking. I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to sing. Does that make sense? Shut my mouth talking, and I'm going to start singing instead and have everybody join us to do that, because musicians it's not that sex, drug, and rock and roll thing. You can't have free sex because you get sick. You can't do drugs. Right. You'll die. Rock and roll is all there is, and it's not dead yet.
That's why I pay for sex.
Right. Well,
that's boring.
Let's talk about that, Turtle. Do you really do that?
No, I'm poor.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other subject. Everybody needs love, and
right.
There's people that are disabled that don't have the access to beautiful women or men. And that's a whole other subject, but that's a healing process, and maybe that should be legal too, along with cannabis and other things that cure diseases and stuff.
That's very true.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, we honor your opinion here.
We are so opinionated. Oh man, but definitely I do cry. I'm in sort of a PTSD kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
I've researched that too with Marines and so forth. And losing somebody and trying to save their life is it's the worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And it can be prevented.
It can. And, having a healthy support system. And, in Hollywood here, there's so many musicians running around that just feel lost and alone. And, if you can reach out to them and just, say, hey,
you're not alone.
You're not alone. You don't really need to do this. There's a better way to, become a rock star than to go down the rapids hill.
And depression, artists are depressed very easily. We're all very sensitive, and everything affects us. A pin drops and we'll start crying or something. Ridiculous. The typical rock star kind of syndrome.
Right. Well, that's why we do what we do.
And we just keep making music, and that's a great healing source.
That's so true.
Now, we just played a song by London, and that was Ride You Through the Night. The reason why we're playing this is because are some of these people going to be featured?
Yeah, man. These guys have really been supporting me since Ton was dying. They were actually trying to help how we can figure out getting her a liver. They helped raise some funds so that she was losing her house and her car and everything, and I just needed money to help feed her and make her, a hospital bill. The documentary will explain every detail, what's happened with her from birth till her death. But all the musicians, I have a whole list on my Facebook, Cara Mastrey, Mastrey. I put on my wall, I think, this morning, just listing everybody who's been very supportive. And I'm going to call them all and say, let's do these monthly tour, this monthly, concert, and eventually major tours. So Jack Russell, Nader DePriest, Kaz West, the local musicians, Max. I'm going to bring them all together. We're going to do something really special, very, very powerful and unignorable. And of course, we haven't even asked the headlining groups to join us yet, but that'll all happen in place once we finish the music recording, which I'm working with Gordon Fordyce and Sean McNabb. It's awesome.
Is it going to be something like along the lines of like Farm Aid?
I hate comparing.
Well, I mean, they kind of like set the standard.
The difference with this project is that, yeah, I mean, we're going to do something only much more power rock and just hit. I mean, I have to please Tom's 5 million fans out there, so it's got to be really hard, really powerful. And we have a lot of great names, too. It's going to be like a conglomeration album, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Toby Wright's offered to produce it. Right now, we're just going to release one single and then raise the funds to do the rest. But when we do the charity events, the difference between the Tom Mastrey Foundation is that the money's going to go where it's needed if I have to hand deliver it. Each group of band will decide which group of people need the help, if they need, because right now there's so many people that are ill without health insurance, and they can't even afford the natural alternative medicinal, and we are very interested in researching alternative medicinal.
Right.
And so we have a committee that works with that, and we're going to make sure that
experiment with somebody with medicinal. I'll be like, yeah, sure, use me.
Well, that could be anything. It could. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I figure if cannabis can cure, or I should say kill. I have to be careful what word I say. Kill cancer. Then I would think it works really well on hepatitis C and other things. And so that's something we need to really research and be available to people who want it, because it won't hurt you, as .gov will tell you.
Right. I've yet to try that. I had talks with somebody the other night about it, and as our listeners know, I'm dealing with my own little health issues, and being a holistic, practitioner myself, I want to look for everything that I can do that is holistic. I just got a new degree in holistic treatment for oncology, so that I can help other cancer. I don't want to call them victims, because we're not victims, but survivors in a daily quest, and so. Yeah,
that's exactly. And we want to support you, and we want to support other alternative healers, because everything. My mother and I tried everything with Tom, but it was just too late. You have to start really early on these alternative offers, and so. Brain stop here.
Well, of course, the doctors, the Western medicine doctors, they don't want to lead you in that direction at all.
Right.
Because it's financially, it's not a good idea for them. And the drug companies, want to, come in and kind of take that over.
And also, I find that a lot of medical doctors aren't really learning the up-to-date procedures of medicine. They're just going by what the pharmaceuticals tell them what to do, and it's just misinformation. They really are guessing. They don't really know what will happen.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people die because of that.
Well, that's why it's called a practice, not a...
Exactly.
Right.
And
practicing on us.
As physicians, that's, our job is to continue education all the time. Like, I spend all of my money on classes. That's all I do. Can't pay my rent, but I'm very well educated. So it's crazy kind of thing.
Well, you can't pay your rent because I know where you live, and that's your rent is pretty substantial.
Yes,
that's another thing.
It is.
We're all so stressed and depression because of the economy. That's just going down, and everything's tying together. I'm finding pieces of puzzles. I'm getting a lot of common sense, gut feelings, intuition, whatever you want to call it, to change stuff, because otherwise we're going to be in a situation we won't be very happy in, and not enough food. And so I'm looking for a place in the world that I can call my home. I've been traveling so much, coming back and forth to LA. And when I do, I'm going to make sure that I have an indoor garden. And this is in the very near future, by the way, for 2015. Where we can actually be self-sustaining. Wouldn't that be ideal? And, there's so many natural ways. You've got the electromagnetics in your houses that are poisoning us. You've got the chemtrails over our sky, poisoning our waters and soil, which people on Facebook think I'm crazy because they think it's a conspiracy. And I think conspiracies are when you're trying to hide something that is not good. I'm trying to bring things out so that things can be better.
Right.
So it's not a conspiracy. It's just seeking facts and honest truth so that we can be healthy and stay alive.
Right. Right. It's very true. If you go back and you watch the movies from the 80s, like Biodome,
Right.
remember that?
With
Silly
Pauly Shore.
movie. Silly movie. Amazing message.
It's really interesting.
Self-sustaining lifestyles are the way of the future. And that's what we're going to have to do because of the way that we live now.
Biodomes are the way we live. Me and you need to act and get in on the biodome craze, Max.
Yeah.
We need to
I
invest
think,
our
yeah.
money in that, and then we can do our show from there.
I agree,
That's right.
because the thing is, where do you get fresh soil that's not contaminated? It's very tricky, and you make sure you get seeds that aren't GMO. But you really have to research and do the classes that Max is doing to
Right.
keep up with it.
It's
And
not an easy thing.
It isn't. It's a full-time job, seriously, because you find out something new every day that's hidden. And
Yeah, and talking about the things that Tawn went through, if these things were available to her when she was younger, it would have been an easier road for her in
like
the long
Facebook,
run.
if Facebook was around before Tom got sick, I would have been able to be on the ball. Get all her friends on before they get 5,000 friends, and then they can't
Right.
be your friend. I was going through hell trying to make sure. That's why I have so many stupid Facebook pages,
Right.
because I kept having to get
To switch
all
'em.
these people on board
Right.
and lining, as they say, ducks in a row. And it's taken all these years to really do that.
Mhm.
I worked on this book we can talk about too, but
Right, fantastic book.
it's getting product
see
out
that.
there, and that takes time, and on a no budget, it takes a very long time. But this year we're going to do some major fundraising so that we can get more information out and do concerts and get it out, help people.
Yeah, it's amazing. Tawn has such a history. She touched so many people, and in the rock world, she's legendary. There's not a single word that can be said bad about this woman. The things that she's done, her heart, her soul, the changes that she made on the air and live. She was so much fun. Oh my gosh, we used to have the best time at shows. She would hand off her microphone to me and she'd say, "Hold this, Max." I'm like, "Why? Why? What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, just hold it. Just stand there." And she would run off and bring somebody back. And she's like, "Get closer to him." I'm like, "No." Like this little kid.
She was hilarious. She
Yeah.
loved people so much, and she was so genuine, and she taught me so much as a kid. I used to hide behind her skirt because I was really shy growing up, and she was twice as big as me, and I felt so safe, behind her. But the world is completely different since she's gone, so now I have to find how to have fun by myself or with other people. Because she was
Get
just
a
the leader. Get a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Aren't you married?
I always said, "Man, if you were a man, I'd marry you, my sister," because she took care of people, and she inspired so many beautiful people like yourself, Max, to get on the air and be DJs. I've got so many letters all over the world. Your sister inspired me to become a DJ. I should have listed them all and also she got people jobs, like right and left. She would, oh my God, we'd go out and her fans would follow her and she'd say, "Hey, you want to come to dinner?" We were going to a 5-star restaurant, and she said, "Come along." And we'd be leaving $1,000 later, and she would be so generous, loving. And she was one of those angels. That's why the Leather Nun name came to her in the early 70s, because somebody saw a cartoon character and they thought, "God, she's such a nun-like personality, but she's such a heavy rocker."
Right.
So what a combination. And so she played with that and took the name Leather Nun, and she got into the leather habit, and leather gear. I think Al Bain maybe have helped design her clothes there, and her whip. And she'd bring on Metallica and whatever, AC/DC. We used to hang out in the 70s. Beginning of her career, and at that time it was Devo and Deborah Harry and Sex Pistols and Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath all in one go. And she was a Segway queen, and her voice was so melodious and deep and beautiful, and she always got great shifts. The first shift she was all night, and people would listen to her all night, and she loved it, and we'd hang out and drink champagne and dance while she'd turn the table of the records. it was so much fun, and we'd go to concerts every night. I got so tired of going to concerts. I was spoiled as hell, 'cause now it's like, I want to go and I can't get backstage. You know, it's like just VIP all the way for Tom. And then, of course, the 80s, KNAC with, oh my God, all the bands from the 80s. I can't even begin to tell you. You know who they are. She was just launched. She would take people like a Auntie Mame. I'm sure, like, you relate, Max, because you're managing so many bands, but she would find a talent and before they were anybody, like Guns N' Roses, and she would play the hell out of them. And she got platinum record to show how many records they sold, and Bullet Boys, and of course Great White. London was huge, and she helped Motley Crue and Kiss, and Gene Simmons, a good friend. Ronnie Montrose, she dated him for 10 years. They loved each other so much. Yeah. So Sammy Hagar, Van Halen, you know, she just rocked it.
That's one of the cool things about being a DJ. When I decided that I wanted to, you know, be a radio personality, it wasn't for the fans, because I would go and I'd be there with DJs, and I noticed that the major fans were the musicians. And I thought that was interesting, because I mean the regular radio fans, they were cool, but it was always like I'd be walking with like Uncle Joe or Mark and Brian, you know, and then you know Billy Bob Thornton would be like, oh my God, you know, Mark, Brian, oh my, and then they get the, you know, or you know, like Motley Crue, I'd be walking with Uncle Joe, and then like, you know, they would just get all starstruck, you know what I mean? And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, they were all very starstruck of Todd. We met Scott Bon, and he. Scott Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That doesn't sound right. Poor guy. He was so sweet, and he was so shy. Tony was bowing, saying, "Thank you so much for playing our record, that you like it," when they first started out. And everybody was just, you know, Ton was a very, what's the word? Just almost intimidating woman. She's very strong, had a lot of manpower in her because she was in the business that men were running. She had it was really hard for her, but she kept going and never stopped. She ended up on Sirius Radio at the end of her life,
right,
with Alice Cooper, and but as far as the Tom Morello, Tom told me a funny story that he'd be listening to her on the air before he was known. He was just playing guitar in his bedroom, and he got very excited, as all guys did after school hours. And he was one of those that really enjoyed listening to her, and that inspired her, or he was inspired by her to actually be in a band. And that's a lot of, I hear the stories from musicians like that all the time. And the way Tom was inspired herself to be a DJ is because in the, early 60s, 70s, well, she would play all the great music, Black Sabbath, when that came out, that first album. I thought, I was listening to the Monkees, and the next day,
and the next day it's
oh
Black
my
Sabbath.
God, this is so cool. And she never went back, and she was always faithful to her fans, because she got offered lots of money from other stations to play, you know, the top 40. She stuck to her guns and stayed metal till the day she died. And I respect that, because, you know, it's become a limited margin of music these days, and it's gotten smaller, but they haven't heard our stuff yet, Max, so it's not, we're not until the fat lady sings, as they say. There ain't gonna be no fat lady.
It's coming soon. Yeah, I remember she came to see one of my shows once, and she walks up, and I've had this said to me a couple times, once by Ronnie James Dio, and the second by Ton, and she said, you know, you're so small. You're so small, but you have such big pipes. And I always like, oh, Ton.
Yay.
Oh, Ton.
Yes.
You know, just the fact that she acknowledged you, and she acknowledged everybody, but when she had, like, you know, a favorite, she just stuck by you, and she just lifted you up, and it was so great for me, because I was just a kid, you know, and she was this older, dynamic, you know, fable almost, you know, because she was just so bigger than life, and it, you know, just such an honor.
I don't know how she had so much time, because I thought she was hanging out with me all this time,
Right.
and yet she touched so many people personally.
She really did.
It's really amazing. And when I was with her and I saw that interaction, it always made me want to be more like her, you know. And she used to say I was the sweet one. Huh. I'm wearing her hat now, and I don't get called sweet anymore.
Oh, not true, not true. Let's talk about sweets for a minute. Let's talk about this book. It's called Eat This, and Tom started this, and Cara has finished it, and we're excited. So where can you get this?
It's on archbooks.com, Eat This. And Tom started writing the book. It was before she even found out she was really sick. It was our family had restaurants, Italian restaurants. So she put all the recipes together, and she was so proud of it. And she was going to use the money to support the family and everything. She was selling the book out of her trunk in the car. You know how she's a self-promoter. She was so good. And then after she passed away, I thought, this book has to get out. That was one of her dreams. And I wanted to try to continue her dreams, as she would have done for me if I would have left the planet. And so I added all the musicians I could find recipes donated. I was going to add Slash's peanut butter jelly sandwich, but I think that'll...
that can wait.
I don't know how to cook.
Peanut butter, jelly.
Jelly, peanut butter.
I should have, just because it's so funny, but maybe in the next... We're actually going to sell it on the e-book, computer for the Tom Mastrey Foundation new website, which will be finished for Tom's birthday in August.
Yay.
And that's when we'll be releasing all the information about the documentary and the music and the concerts and stuff.
I did find some Facebook links, but these links are like facebook.com/853. You know, it's like this very long, but I will put those links. I can't say them because they're very hardy.
Yeah.
But just know that if you log on to entertheshell.com, I will have the links to the Facebook group as well as the page.
Sweet.
So
yeah, that's where all the troops are hanging out right now. And I rarely do telephone, but I'm more than happy to take anyone's call if they want to be involved in those, definitely. And just email me on the Facebook, because I'm always checking my emails.
On the Facebook. Now, I think it's really great that you've picked up this torch and you're carrying it, but I'm a little concerned about you and your life. It seems that you're living, Ton's life now, but what about your own life?
Yeah, I know people think, what the heck? What happened to your life? And what happens is...
It's very admirable what you're doing, don't get me wrong.
Well, this is what I figure. I've been actually in hiding for the last 20 years raising my daughter, but I've been always performing in various bands or different things all since 80 something. And Ton was always saying, sing, sing, and I was pursuing to be an actress. So Ton encouraged me to start my own bands in the 80s, and I've always, I teach singing for the last 20 years as well, while I was raising my daughter, because I didn't want to go off on tour. But now my daughter's Zaria, Xaria, is a singer herself, and Ton was her mama, basically, her stage mommy, which I have had to take over, which is not easy. I'm also her bodyguard, too, and she's taller than me and beautiful and talented. So now that she's going to be doing music, she's a singer, getting out there, I am also going to be finishing where I left off. And Ton always wanted to have me play music that was hard enough for her to play on the air. And being a chick in the early 80s, they were saying, you're a chick, you need to do this music, pop. And Atlantic Records was separating me from my producer, and my bands were... Chuck Wright went off to Quiet Riot, and all my bands were separating. It was just like crazy. So we moved to Ireland, and I ended up performing 10 years there in the pubs, basically singing my original or private parties and jumping out of cakes and singing happy birthday. I've been, singing for my supper since whenever.
That's a heck of a birthday.
Yeah, I got paid good too that day. My girlfriend said, yeah, come down and sing for my husband. So Ton would prop me up on a bar when we could go out, sing, Cara, sing. And I'd, oh God, so I start singing some blues or something. And so this is really dedicated to Ton, this album. And as much as I love music, I'm also offered films as well. From my career's been on hold for years. So everything I do in the public eye will be able to support the charity, the awareness, the health, education, because otherwise I just feel like, I love singing, I love performing, and I want to do this, but there's got to be a purpose for it. Otherwise I'll just stay in bed and eat chocolate all day because I really like
Nothing
doing
wrong with
that. I really like doing that. I love it. But, I have another 50 years in life at least. The way I look at it, my health is great. So I'm going to be rocking till I'm 80. That's all there is to it. Here I am.
So you're 30. Wow. You're great.
20.
Oh, sorry.
I'll always be 21. Yeah, I never grow up.
Yes.
Very
Our children
cool.
will get older than us.
That's right.
That's what's going to happen.
So we're gonna leave, but we're gonna play a song by Jack Russell. Jack Russell,
Great White.
Great White. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he actually toured when I was singing for Alice Cooper. They were opening for us on tour for the Trash Tour.
Jack was so cool. I actually
Yeah.
had a video on MTV where Jack Russell was one of my walk-ons or something, along with Cara Dean and Linda Blair and all these great actors in the 80s. It was played on MTV, but it's now in secret vaults and nobody's seen it since, so I'll
Uh-oh.
release it in about 10 years.
Okay. Very cool.
After I'm done with my hard stuff, because it was all pop back then.
Yeah. And they,
more pop
they
for
try to
me.
force us into the pop.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you guys. Thank you both so much. This is awesome, and it's so really my passion, music and health. I live by it.
Right.
Thank
Ours
you.
as well.
Yes.
Well, mine.
You yours.
A little bit.
Yeah, so like I said, I'll have all the links on the show notes if you want to get further involved.